Hello, my name is Tom Chaplin and you are watching AMBY.
Hey everyone, it's Alicia from AMBY and I would like to welcome you to our interview with Tom Chaplin. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm great, yeah. I was saying to you before we started that I had an early start today doing breakfast TV, but I've had a glorious sort of 2-hour sleep on our tour bus this afternoon. I just feel kind of all blissed out and lovely, so yeah.
I'm glad you were able to rest up.
Yeah, it's important.
Well, before getting to the questions, I have to say I was very keen on doing this interview, so I appreciate you taking the time to sit down.
Nice, I like that.
I want to kick things off by discussing The Wave. Congratulations on its release.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful, beautiful solo debut. How do you feel now that it's out there and everybody's been able to listen to it finally?
Oh, it feels great. I was really proud of it when I finished it, for several reasons. Firstly, that I'd just actually done it. I thought I'd actually done this, because I think it was a big challenge to set myself. And also, as I've talked about a lot in the press, I didn't, my life went into kind of a terrible downward spiral for a while, and so even to come back from that and a year or two later have a solo record out there felt amazing. But really, it's that kind of thing of knowing that people out in the big wide world are hearing it and hopefully falling in love with it. That's the thing above all that makes me the most proud, I think.
You have to tell me about the cover, because it looks so tranquil. It's you in a suit, just in the English Channel. But I feel like it would have been absolutely freezing. Like, something that looks so blissful would be such a pain to put together.
Right, yeah. We had to do the all the photographs for the record. There's a kind of photograph that goes with each song, as well as obviously the front cover. They were done by a guy called Derek Hudson, who's this kind of legendary, very old school photographer. And he wanted to capture a situation or an image for each song. And for the front cover, he wanted to be quite literal. So he was like, I want you in the sea.
Against the wave.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the idea of me being in a kind of smart suit in this kind of very dangerous and, sort of potentially life-threatening place there was something about that kind of that contrast that obviously reflected the story of the album really well. So it was June in the UK, but it was probably the coldest June that I can remember, and it was like 5 a.m, and I was kind of in the freezing cold English Channel. Ooh. And because I had my back to the waves, I was thinking, when am I next going to get smashed in the back by a wave? It was a really uncomfortable, horrible experience, but I will remember it forever.
So even though it looks really nice, the whole thing putting together wasn't so friendly. It wasn't so great.
No, and in fact, I was wearing a kind of skin-tight suit, and when you're covered in kind of salt water,
it gets even tighter.
In a cold morning, I was in like the public restroom that was just up the top of the cliff near the beach, and I was kind of under this hot blower trying to peel off this suit and thinking, what the hell am I doing?
Did it take you a while, or?
It took me forever.
Did it?
Yeah. And in fact, I did 2 different shots in the ocean. So I had to do that twice, because I also wore a less kind of smart outfit too. So yeah, it was worth it, but
the final product is fantastic. So definitely worth it. Well, the subject matter for the record, it is very personal and very intimate, as you talk about everything from fame, panic attacks, and addiction. So once you did start to get better, was there a moment or a specific event where you're like, I want to pour my heart out and share everything that I went through with my listeners?
Well, 2014 was a kind of strange and crazy year for me, because I'd stepped away from Keane to do this solo record, and my daughter was born in March of that year, well remembered. And at the same time, I was at home a lot, which has always been a dangerous place for me. And in a sense, when it comes to taking drugs, because when I'm on the road, I'm actually quite professional and look after myself quite well. And basically, during the course of that year, I just got worse and worse and worse. And by the end of the year, I completely messed my life up. I couldn't really look after my daughter. My marriage was going down the pan. I wasn't really living at home anymore most of the time. I certainly wasn't being creative. and physically I was killing myself, you know. So the thing was, actually, beginning of 2015, I kind of had this went on this mad binge, and I had this moment of like clarity where I thought, if I wake up tomorrow, I really am going to change my life and change who I am. And I woke up the next day and I was resolved to do it, you know. And ever since then, things have turned around in the most incredible way. And, you know, basically the way to do it was to open up. It was to be vulnerable. It was to share all my kind of deep, dark secrets and the things I was ashamed of, to share them with other human beings, with a therapist, with my family and friends. And I found that very liberating. And really the record is just an extension of that process. So that openness actually was the result of getting well from my addiction.
It's so inspirational. I love the fact that there is, even though the songs sometimes can be a little bit more somber, there's still that optimism that shines throughout them.
Yeah, and the thing about the record is I think it was never the intention, but actually if you listen to the record, you can listen to it like it's a story, you know. And the way we track listed it in the end, it starts, Still Waiting is the opening song, which is really dark. It's about being trapped in a kind of prison, you know, of addiction. And then, you know, Hardened Heart, similarly a song about kind of sadness and depression. Worthless Words is about that last kind of binge that I was telling you about. And then as the record goes on, it starts to open up, and there are songs about, you know, being kind of released from that place and repairing the relationships in my life. To this point at the end, we get these two songs, The Wave and See It So Clear, which are about finding a real sense of resolution and happiness again.
I'm very glad that you brought up Worthless Words, because there's a line in that track that really stood out to me, and that line is, I'm a pretender to a glorious throne by 10:07 as I'm driving home. So what does 10:07 represent? Because I couldn't really figure it out.
So the song is basically a timeline. It's a kind of, I'm trying to tell the story of this last binge that I went on. So it says, you know, the song opens with, the undercurrent is stronger today, this time it's different, I'll keep it at bay. So it was always this thing with taking drugs that I would say to myself, I feel okay today, I'm going to be all right. But really there was this kind of undercurrent that was sucking me down. And before I knew it, I was back in the madness and phoning the dealer. And, you know, by 10:07 as I'm driving at home, you know, this sense of, you know, when you take your first line and you feel like you're king of the world, you know. And for that, it's just for that one moment though. And everything beyond that is just getting further and further down towards the abyss. And, you know, and then the song obviously then tells a story of basically several days later kind of being a mess. And this kind of, you know, like I say, another star-crossed has-been, you know, which is like saying, you know, just another, you know, unlucky or, you know, fated sort of has-been, which is what I felt like. You know, I thought, well, you know, my days in music are over. You know, all my success is behind me, and that's that. And I just felt miserable in that place, you know. So I wanted to document the kind of pure misery of what it was like to go on those binges, because they weren't fun. And I always felt like I was just being kind of dragged into it, you know, in a sort of unstoppable way.
Was water an intentional theme for you on this? Because you have the river, you're mentioning currents, of course, there's, you know, the record title.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is. It's a great metaphor. And water kept popping up in my dreams all the time when I was writing the record. And also it's a very, you know, rich metaphor. You can use it in all sorts of different ways. But I think the one that most appeals to me is this idea of self-reflection. You know, the album, whilst it starts in a dark place, is actually really about coming to terms with who I am and learning to like myself. And that involves, you know, looking at who you are, good bits and bad bits, and accepting them. And so it felt like a very kind of pertinent metaphor, and also a good way of describing the record.
I just want to do a little quick fire round with you.
Okay.
So ask a question, whatever comes to mind first, shout it out. Oh, I like the cringe face happened there. Let's see how you handle this.
Yeah.
All right, the first one. What is the greatest form of dedication a fan has shown you?
Well, there was a fan who flew from Argentina to the UK to live in the same small town as me.
Oh, wow.
And ended up living in a flat that overlooked mine. Is that
Really?
dedication?
I don't know if that's
a long
dedication.
time ago.
A little. What were your thoughts on that when you found that out?
I was surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Surprised, one word to put it.
yeah.
What was the worst job you had as a teenager?
Oh, I had some really great jobs, but the worst one. The first ever jobs I had was dishwashing, and that was just, I hated it.
If you could speak one language fluently, which would it be?
Italian.
What's your favorite thing to eat on tour?
Well, it's a tour of North America, so
I feel like junk food or something coming on.
I just love going to kind of old diners and stuff
Okay.
like that. So I'll probably say anything you can get in a diner.
And then for the last one, a must-have on your rider.
I wouldn't say there's. Well, probably just water. How boring is that?
And just to wrap everything up, I want to end it on the fans. Is there anything you want to leave with all of those who will be viewing?
It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Yes, being in Canada has been absolutely amazing. I mean, we played in Montreal last night, and they were the loudest crowd on this tour so far. And I'm concerned about whether, crowds can reach those levels on the rest of the tour. So I'm going to set the challenge tonight.
Hopefully
in
Toronto can bring it.
So people of Toronto, I need that tonight. But yeah, just hi and thank you for all the support.
I just want to say thank you for sitting down with me today. As I mentioned prior, it means so much. So thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
Absolute pleasure.
And remember, to everybody viewing, you can visit us at musicblogger.com for all exclusive interviews, features, videos, and so much more. See you next time.